Hi everyone, this is the fourth video in my series on playing the flank position in a 3v3 or a 4v4 game. My name is Jay Martin, thanks for watching. And in this particular game, we're going to be following the Prussian player here. And this game was played by Krasnikov. Krasnikov is playing in this position. And what I want to focus on in this battle is sort of things not to do. Etc. And one thing I try to avoid is I think that when players like me or Rad or Riskard or Pointman, whenever we make videos, a lot of times there's some kind of basic things that we overlook and fail to mention, or things that we just kind of do implicitly that never get mentioned to newer players, and that's something that I want to try to avoid. And so I want to kind of go back to the basics and talk about some kind of maybe simple mistakes that occur in this game. First of all, so you should know what you're playing with. Kraz has 5 infantry, and on the left side he has a strong flank with 2 foot guard. No, there's 3 of them, and he has a meat shield in front of them. Now Kraz's opponent is doing something it's a little awkward. First of all, I don't know if his army is really disorganized right here. I'm not sure if this is part of like a move up and not controlling units very well. But he's also his lights really aren't arranged in any meaningful way. They're kind of split all across his line, and that's fine. But that's not going to get you through the whole game. When you see your opponent is bunching lights up in one area, we call this the hammer. You have to do something about that. If this guy just leaves his lights in this position, then Kraz is going to rip right through him. The other thing that he's doing is his line of turret is positioned way too close to his lights. I've talked about this before. Overflow bullets are going to pass through and decimate his lights pretty well. And there he goes. I think he actually realizes this and starts to pull them back a little bit, which is the correct thing to do. Now Kraz has got his lights nearly in position. I think he's going to move up there. And if things remain the same, if this guy doesn't position his lights at all, then Kraz is going to have a pretty substantial advantage. And another thing, I'm not really sure why that musketeer unit is still there. Maybe he's just forgetting to move them, etc. And Kraz moves in to engage. He lets his opponent take the first shot. That doesn't really concern him much because his opponent only has 3 units shooting at 5. This is how you lose games. You get into situations like this. The reason is that every man that can shoot a rifle or shoot a gun in your army is valuable. And Kraz is going to be killing off the opponent's units much faster. So say that this unit of 90 men gets a volley and they kill 10. Okay, but these 2 units get a volley off and they kill 20. Well, the second volley, this guy only has 70 men to shoot, and now Kraz still has, what would that be, 180 to shoot. That's really bad. Getting the first shot is good, but at some point you have to match firepower, and the whole idea to be able to win the game is to get a preponderance of firepower, extra firepower. And it did the right thing. He moved lights over here. Now, and unfortunately, I mean, this guy's initial positioning really fucked him up because Kraz, now that this flank is weakened a little bit, Kraz is moving foot guards in there, and these foot guards are just going to rip through these 3 units. These 3 units on the left are bunched up way too close together, and Kraz is not fucking around. He's just sitting straight melee, and the retreat here might have seemed like a good idea, but it really isn't, because it just puts these units more at the mercy of this, and Kraz sort of smells blood on the water, and all of this cav is moving in. A mistake. When your opponent is charging cav, you have to stop and shoot. If Kraz can catch these units on the move, he's going to just do a fuckload of casualties to them. Another problem is you don't really want to countercharge cav with cav. It's a bad use of resources. Now, sometimes it's a necessity. You have to concede that you're just in a bad position, because all Kraz wanted to do with his Lancers was disorganize this guy to create more opportunity for his foot guards, and this guy moving his Lancers into the neighborhood is exactly what Kraz wanted. Kraz doesn't give a fuck about his 2 Lancers, and he's going to keep the pressure on. You notice that what I predicted came true. Kraz has won the light fight and routed the first Fusilier unit. That it's not going well for this guy at all, and he's just creating mass havoc. You see this big bunch of units here? don't do this. This is a huge problem because any bullet that these foot guards shoot has a ton of targets that they can potentially hit. Just a ton of targets. You want to keep, you know, there's a clever balance between keeping your units spread out so they don't take a lot of hits and keeping your units bunched so that you can put a lot of firepower together. But this, you know, big clusterfuck of units here is not doing anything. I mean, these units aren't being productive. They're not shooting at Kraz, and all they're doing is sitting there in a big bunch and getting shot the fuck up. And that's exactly what Kraz wanted to, and he's putting more Lancers into this area. I mean, this is a problem. You want to avoid this. Those are probably Lancers from the middle player, frankly. But there's about 6 enemy Cav that have kind of sauntered into this area, and they're just getting shot. And more importantly, this guy's line is caught up in all this Cav. All of this Cav here is preventing the opponent from actually shooting. And that's bad. Moreover, because he's lost his lights in the middle, he's going to be taking flanking fire from these 3 lights. Now that Kraz has won the light engagement, he's free to get maximum firepower here. And this game is going to turn into a rout really quick because the volleys from these infantry here are just going to add up. And I think this player at least recognizes this. He starts to pull his line units back, but that's not really a solution because Kraz's light infantry advantage is just going to let him really work over this guy's infantry. He abandons 2 units here. You can't do this. If you want to pull back, you have to pull back in an organized fashion. These 2 units are going to get chewed up pretty good. Well, there he goes, you know, a little bit late because he took a volley. And the art of maneuver of your units, you have to be able to do it kind of quick. And you don't necessarily need strong micro or fast micro skills for that. It certainly helps. But, you know, if you withdraw, you have to withdraw in an orderly fashion. Another problem here with the Prussian player pulling back is going to expose the flank of this player here. This is this middle player, and this is the left player. And when this guy abandons the flank here, this is going to cause some problems for them, or it could theoretically cause some problems for them. When you withdraw, you kind of want to withdraw in line with your partner. And you can see that these 2 foot guard units aren't going to last terribly long. They're going to take fire from 5 light infantry. And this game is really just an exercise in you know, not using your units poorly. The whole game, this guy's his units are getting double teamed, or they're taking fire from more than 1 unit at a time, and that's not how you want to do it. It's a good way to lose games. I'm not really sure the Cav here. I think he realizes maybe the best thing that he can do is help his teammate out, but you know, they're just going to run into the square, and the reserves are going to shoot up that infantry pretty damn quick. So this game is pretty over again. Firepower preponderance has crushed the flank here, and the light infantry here are able to maximize firepower. So I thought this was an interesting game because Kraz played very well. And there's 2 ways you could look at it. You could either say, well, either player A played very well or player B played quite poorly, but, you know, probably a little bit of both in this game. This guy pretty much was at a firepower disadvantage everywhere across the line, and there was some nice cav use from Kraz in this. I think that he recognized, yeah, the foot guards go. I think he recognized pretty early that he was able to generate firepower advantage and just use his cav to exploit that more and more. So this you know, sort of concludes my series on playing the flank in a 4v4 game, and a big thanks to everybody who played in the games that I used for this little experiment, and I hope it went pretty well, and that you enjoyed it. And maybe if you have an idea for another series that I could do, leave a comment about that. And I enjoyed putting this together, and thanks for watching. You can find more information at t2replays.com.